What's up, everybody? It's Ty here, and we are the cast of The Link. Thank you guys for joining us this Tuesday. Meet my beautiful co-hosts. They're all over here and going this way, but they all look amazing. You guys know that we come here every Tuesday to hash out all kinds of drama and talk about everything that's going on in HIV prevention and then also in linkage to care and the media. So, one, we want to give a big thank you. This is a partnership between APLA Health and Pyro Media Network. So, clap it up for Pyro Media Network. And then we are also funded by the CDC. So, let's give them a clap too.
Yes,
So,
the
yes,
Central
let's get into
Disease
it.
Control.
Right, hard at
All
work
of
right
it,
now.
all of it. We got the money, and Pyro Media puts it together, and we just show up. So, hey guys, how are y'all? How's everybody doing?
I'm
Good.
doing well,
Good.
honey. I
Year's
felt
almost
Y'all
yesterday
over.
I
look
gave
so
you a red lip,
fresh
honey.
faced. Yeah, you
But
gave for the end of the year. You gave us a red lip. I'm glad. Listen, we have been through a lot this year. Even with the show broadcasting for as long as it has, this has definitely been one of the highlights of my year. So big thank you to my co-host. Thank you to APLA Health, Pyro Media Network, and the CDC for even making this possible. But I want to get into it. So before I get into it, let me just introduce myself. I'm Ty. I am the linkage to care specialist for CDC youth programs at APLA Health. So anybody that diagnoses HIV positive goes through me, and I assist you with everything else that you need. So meet my co-host. Let's start with Daniel.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Daniel J., your favorite prevention training specialist over for Swab and Chill, which is our at-home HIV testing initiative. So if you need HIV testing kits at home, safer sex kits at home, you talk to me, you deal with me, I get you what you need, honey. I am the plug on all things tested HIV.
Come on, the plug. Yes. And what about Rogelio?
Hey everyone, I'm Rogelio. I'm the prevention training specialist for Trans Connections. So if you are a trans person of color 18 to 29, make sure to hit me up to find out about all our services and exciting events.
And what about Kai, last but not least?
I'm gonna do my hair nice too, because everyone decided they would do hair. Hi everybody, I'm Kai Smith. I am program coordinator for the CDC-funded Healthy Him. I make sure everyone gets paid. I make sure we have the resources that we have, and I do work. Yeah.
Ty does a lot, as does everybody on this panel. We all are well-oiled machine, and we make it happen. So let's get into the main, not the main topic. Actually, let's get into our segment. What's popping? So it's going to come up at the bottom. Oh, look at that, the gold curtain. I'm still not used to where it comes up at. Pyro Media Network definitely hooked us up. You guys saw that fancy 007 intro. So the question is, we're going to rewind the year. Let's rewind the year because 2020 has been a dud. Let's talk about 2020 in retrospect. So I want to ask my co-host, one, what do we want for 2021 and what did we learn this year? Let's start with Kai.
Ooh, I want for 2021 for people to really just stop being combative with. Yeah, I'm trying to find a different way. Being combative with things that we know are going to work. I know we're all really, really tired and fatigued. 2020 is Miss Rona's year. She should be Times Person of the Year, really, because she has everyone's mouth. But for me, it's just what I would love to see in 2021 is people not trying to live around coronavirus, but doing things to get rid of it. So if that means, and this includes our government, pay us to stay home so we can stay home so that we can get rid of the coronavirus. It's that simple. Like we saw in New Zealand, they're good.
Period.
Like
point blank and edges.
And it's because they took the steps measured. And now obviously government has some things they need to do, but then also everyone else, stop going to these parties, stop hanging out with these people. I know New Year's is coming up, but you should be spending New Year's by your damn self. Like just
absolutely
live in your household. If they live in your household, that's great.
Have a Zoom New Year's Eve party. Get dressed up, have some champagne, and do a Zoom New Year's Eve party. Like it's not that hard.
Yeah. That's what I would like for 2021 is just for everyone to be serious about everything and not just their lives, but other people's lives too. Like it's not just about you, but that's me. That's just me.
And that's one thing that I think that I think the 2020 has definitely shown us that, if we are going to get rid of the coronavirus, it can't just be about you. It can't just be about, not wanting to wear a mask because you feel stifled and I can't talk and people can't see my smile. Who cares? Rogelio, what about you? the lesson of the year and what do you want for 2020,
For
2021?
sure. Well, I think 2020 has definitely tested me beyond my limits, and I'm honestly surprised I'm coming out of it, this end as okay as I am now, honestly. Like any other year, I would have been so much more hard hit. So I think 2021, with things like looking a lot better in terms of my health, in terms of the coronavirus and everything else, I really am just hoping that it will, breathe new life into, me and everybody else. I'm definitely hoping, like Kai, that people take everything seriously in terms of coronavirus, because that's my biggest fear, that now that we have a vaccine, people are going to be like, oh, well, I haven't taken the vaccine in a few months, so I'm going to just be reckless. And, 3,000 people are going to keep dying a day until that happens, you know?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think it's definitely about remaining engaged, but also learning to celebrate life in a new way, at least for me.
Nice, nice. What about you, Daniel?
Lesson of 2020 for me is
Mm-hmm.
that people are a lot less considerate than I thought they were. And that was a lesson for me to really understand because I always try to treat people pretty much on the same level in regards to it, considering things that they go through, considering their life, considering the fact that we're in a pandemic, consider like all the considerations. And it was a
Absolutely.
year where I learned very harshly that there are a lot of people that I'm connected to who don't take into consideration what a person has going on or what they're going through. And so that was a
Mm-hmm.
lesson for me to understand. Number one, be better in my own walk.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that I'm really considering someone's, life and what they may or may not have going on in their life. But to also not bank on the fact that somebody is going to consider me, my feelings, my life, my ongoings in the midst of a pandemic. My
Mm-hmm.
wants for 2021, I will echo and chorus what has been said thus far. One of the things that I want for 2021 is for people to understand that your decisions don't just affect you, specifically a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic of this nature. And so we have to make the best decisions, not just for us, but those that we are around and those we come into contact with. And just
Mm-hmm.
because, we haven't had any symptoms, doesn't mean that we can just go and be like, oh, well, I feel fine, so let me go out and just do whatever I want to do. The other thing that I want for 2021 is I hope for it to be a year that people are able to rebuild, recharge, and kind of press the reset button um, in regards to everything that happened to them, was taken from them, from us
Mm-hmm.
this year. Because there has been so much loss, there has been so many things that we've had to like navigate through and fight through and transgress through, I guess. So that's my hope for 2021 is that people consider others and that we're able to kind of recharge and rebuild in a positive way. And I hope that they save the White House because the administration is.
Absolutely. That leads me to my lesson and my want. So my lesson for this year was definitely that life is very short. If you are afraid of taking a big leap, I think that 2020 kind of showed you that you could take that big leap safely, of course. But yeah, just all of the devastation from the coronavirus and us seeing everything on the news. I remember when it first kind of like hit and we were all at work and they pulled us aside and we had a meeting and they told us that we would be going home, but we would not know for how long we would be going home. I remember like looking back on it now, like I remember being a little frightful about what was going on, how it would affect not just my work, but my family, you all. It's just, I think that the lesson this year for me was definitely like, when you have a group of people or a family like we have, like you got to honor and check in on everyone. It might be exhausting to wake up and think I need to check in on Kai, but I'm glad that I did. You know what I mean? And vice versa. You guys know me. I'm always in my bubble. I've created this little scenario world in my mind where everything is okay. But I think the lesson for this year was that everything was not okay, and I needed to make sure that I checked on the people that I love. For what I want in 2021, I want Corona to be gone. Ideally, I have a whole long list that I could roll down. I want a Corona to be gone. I want people to be able to be rebuilt. their financial situations, and I want people to not be homeless and have to, figure that out based off of something that they didn't cause. And I also want all of the racists to slither back into their little pockets in the ground. Go back to your troll accounts. I don't want people feeling comfortable enough to push racist rhetoric anymore. If you're going to talk about it at your dinner table, that's fine. I'm not at that trash ass dinner table, so that's okay. But if you are going to be racist, I'd rather you do it from a profile with a Japanese character as your
not Japanese
avatar. Don't feel comfortable to come out and do that because Trump is probably going to be a regular citizen again. So now all of that can go. So I'm excited for that. But I'm just peace and prosperity for 2021. We all have things that we're working on. I want all of those things to be super duper successful. I want us to continue to do the link because we all know how much you all love it, commenting on our videos and sending us mail and all that good stuff. I definitely wanted to ask one more question before we went to our commercial. One more question for you all. Do you all feel like the coronavirus has changed you as a person?
Oh,
and
for sure.
why?
I can't say that the virus itself has changed me as a person.
What about everything that's involved with it? Like, think about, the world and how the U.S. took to it.
I would say how people have reacted to it, the things that have come out in regards to it, like people's view on it, people's lack again of consideration, that has changed me. It's made me aware. It's made me more aware of making sure that I am protecting myself and the people that I love. It also has. I'm already emboldened, but it's made me more emboldened to speak out against what I feel is not right. And that includes if I'm in line and you ain't got no mask on, I'm gonna need you to back up 12 feet. Okay?
Move. Because I'll move you myself.
You and your coffin baby, y'all need to be 12 feet behind me. I'm not gonna.
That's the coffin baby.
No, absolutely.
Corona would be the least of your concerns.
Absolutely. I will say this. It's also taught me. It's also taught me what I don't need. That is what the Corona experience has taught me. It has really taught me how I can be okay with very little.
That's facts. Kai, you jumped to the question. You said absolutely. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, and I think when I think of Corona, just because it's 2020, so now I think of the way COVID has changed my 2020, and I would say this year specifically, I have seen the most, I wouldn't say personality change, but value change in myself. And what I consider a friend. Daniel always talks about, I have very few friends and I have a lot of acquaintances. Before I was like, no.
He does say that.
2019 has taught me that that's actually a real thing. Like, I don't have as many friends as, I thought I did, or people that I would really consider real friends. But it's also taught me to be gentle with myself. And I think that's been my biggest thing is I have always been a real, hit the ground running, work myself until I'm tired, take, 2-3 hours of sleep at night, get up and do it again every single day and think, I'm fine. This is healthy. I got it. I got to make this check. I got to do my job. I got to look great. COVID.
Come on, look great.
I love the Rihanna reference, by the way. Quack.
But COVID has taught me, especially from working from home and having to find what is productive. Working from home can be really daunting because then it's like, am I being productive enough? Am I doing enough? And then for me, you go into those downward spirals. Am I enough? And then it really taught me, no, I need to be okay. And if by doing that, I need to tell myself, hey, what, today wasn't your most productive day. That's okay. That's okay. There's tomorrow. We're going through a lot. And it's also taught me to just accept people the way they are by how they're acting, right? You always want to look at the best in people and you're like, I know it's deep down in there. Not anymore. I'm going to treat you exactly the way you show me because people show you who they are. And for some reason, we don't want to do it. But for me, I've been in experiences where I've let things slide with old people that I considered friends, whether it be, things with COVID-19, seeing people who I'm like, why are you guys sitting here on your social media talking about being good about COVID, making sure you're being safe? But then every weekend I see you at some different little party with all these different people or all
with no mask,
or even the people who, with everything that we've been seeing with racial justice reform and just racial identity. people who are real quick to say Black Lives Matter and everything, but then all of a sudden they're quiet, or
They're quiet now.
they haven't
They are
really
quiet
done it.
now.
And all my experiences, you know, actually, I've been around people and they've been racist experiences, but those aren't those people. That's just the people. I'm like, no, I'm around somebody and every time I'm around them or talk to them around them, I'm experiencing something that is racially charged, there's a problem. There's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
To change it. So why aren't I taking that at face value? So those are what from 2020.
And you know what? To that point too, Kai, I think that everybody on this panel for 2021 would still like to see justice for Breonna Taylor. So let's not forget about any of the stuff that's happened this year. Rogelio, what about you? Do you feel like the pandemic has changed you in any kind of way?
For sure. And I think that part of that is also because of everything else that has been going on with me during pandemic. So like, if anything, those things were probably more or just like more what's that word? They were made worse because of the pandemic. You know, they were crap, I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. They're magnified.
What letter does it start with?
There we go.
They were magnified because of the pandemic. So it's like, you know, my family got a lot closer, and that's partly because my sister's pregnant, and also because we are living with this scary pandemic that, you know, our parents are older and have pre-existing conditions. So like, you know, we're trying to be mindful of everything. So I think that the pandemic really just taught me to value everything in my life. And both ways, honestly, like people have stated before me that, like, you know, on one hand, I was able to reconnect with a lot of people who I haven't spoken to in years, who I'm like, oh, wow, I forgot that we had such a great connection. And it's great that we can, you know, spark that back up during a pandemic. But it's like, I've also had to let people go, whether it's people who didn't reach out to me when I was going through my cancer, or, you know, just people who haven't been the most mindful of other people during this pandemic, or whatever the case. So I think it's really just taught me to value everything a lot more. And that's why in 2021, I'm really going into it with a different mindset and just hoping to live a lot more unapologetically.
Absolutely.
Rogelio, I'm so proud of you. Like, you, and I'm sorry, this is a breakaway from the topic, but Rogelio's the baby of this particular group. And I remember when Rogelio first started with APLA Health, and to see you then to where you are now, bravo to you. Like,
thank you.
You have really evolved into a truth and an authenticity that I just absolutely love and adore.
Thank you. And you all have definitely been a big part of that. Like, I wouldn't have gone through as much of the personal growth that I've gone through if it weren't by having, you know, the older people in the community like you all. You know, the elders, you know, the old folks.
I got the grade.
My bad.
My bad.
No, but honestly, you guys have all been amazing and have been a big part of that. So thank you.
Like Ariana Grande at the Grammys. No, girl, have your moment. I think specifically for me, I think it's made me more I was already a worrywart. I think the only person I've seen outside of, you know, the office and Zoom during this pandemic is Daniel. So Daniel knows that I take on Papa Ty a lot as it pertains to not just, you know, the staff that works with us, but also, you know, our ambassadors and stuff like that. So I think in 2021, Papa Ty is going to be magnified by 10. I've become such a worrywart. Like, I pray a lot longer now at night. Beforehand, it was like, if I forget it, that's okay. But now I'm at a place where I'm like, no, I'm going to pray every single night because they tell me that it's good. So I've been doing that. So I think the pandemic has definitely just taught me to cherish and honor the people that you have in your circle. Like Rogelio said, you know, the older people, the people that are your peers, and people that are younger than you too. Everybody brings an experience to the world that we live in, and learning about that through someone is a great thing that I think that we were starting to lose before the pandemic. So definitely communication and conversations have been, you know, a big part of my year, because we have no other choice but to do them now, right? Because, you know, now all we can do is talk to each other because we can't see each other. But on that note, I want to send us off into our first commercial, and we'll come back and talk about our main topic, which is going to be really, really good. So stay tuned.
Oh.
Hey guys, Ty here from APLA Health, and I got some good news for you.
APLA Health is launching our first ever at-home HIV testing initiative.
As we battle the global pandemic of COVID-19 and all that it entails,
APLA Health is doing what we can to fill the gaps for those who are in need of knowing their status, linking to care, and having safer sex options.
The initiative, officially known as Swab and Chill, will be our virtual hub for those seeking to take an HIV test, receive HIV kits, link into medical care for those who are HIV positive, while also having access to several other programs and services that specialize in harm reduction for HIV infection.
Such services include PrEP and PEP information, as well as substance abuse services. Our goal with Swab and Chill is to make HIV testing easily accessible and easy to use within the comfort of your own home.
We provide each client with the Aura Quick at-home testing kit. This kit is a simple test that is done by orally swabbing the gums and waiting 20 minutes for your results.
APLA staff is available to virtually assist you while taking the test, while providing resources and support for those who may test positive.
maybe you already know your status and you're just low on condoms and lube due to accessibility. No problem. We can also send you one of our safer sex kits right to your front door.
As we strive to keep our community safer and well-informed, your privacy is also a high priority.
All packaging will appear from APLA Health. Our over-the-phone assessments are quick, easy, and secure, so you can feel safe in sharing your results with us and asking any questions that you may have.
If you or someone that you know is interested in having one of our at-home testing kits mailed to you, or you just want more information on what Swab and Chill can provide, please call one of our team members at 323-329-9713, or just email us.
Come swab and chill with 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 us.
Welcome back. Rahelia, you want to take this one over?
Yeah, for sure. So welcome back, everybody. We are back now for the main topic of our show today, which is going to be intersectionality within the LGBT community. So I first want to talk a little bit about what intersectionality is, where it came from. And the term was coined back in the 90s, I believe, by Kimberly Crenshaw. She is an academic who was writing at the time about Black women in the church and all the struggles that they had to go through navigating their identities, both as Black people, you know, in Black culture and Black spaces, but also specifically as Black women within the church and all the expectations that come with that. And so it's really about a way of analyzing people and phenomenon in this way that includes their multiple identities. And by multiple identities, we mean both privileges and disadvantages, because someone may be a person of color, but may be extremely wealthy, or, you know, somebody may be white, but maybe a trans working class person who may not have a lot of the benefits that other people do. So I want to start by just going like one by one. And I thought we could talk about our own personal intersections and how we manage them, how we've seen them manifest in our lives, since, you know, a big part of that is having to manifest or navigate a lot of these spaces in which we may not be validated in each one of our identities. So Kai, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I can do this. This is one that I actually, for me, is something I address with myself. And you'll always hear me talk about my privilege. And it's because my intersectionality is so, I think, different than some people. So obviously, one, we can start with, I'm gay. So I'm a gay male. So those are my first two, I know. So already with male, I have privilege. Also, I am biracial. My father is Black, my mother is white. So that's another intersectionality. We can talk about my intersectionality of my education, my educational background. I come from a very well-off family. My father took really, really good care of us. My father has always been able to provide really, really well just because of his position in a medical field, but also with things like I grew up in a military household. So I jumped around every 2 or 3 years growing up. So I was never really in a place for very, very long. What other intersectionalities can we talk about? I think those are my big ones. So my racial identity, my socioeconomic identity, and then my sexuality. So
For sure.
You've done this before, huh?
Well, we address the privilege all the time. No one can tell me that I'm privileged and not me say what. I'm never surprised by it. So I always
Well, I
address.
will.
Right.
I will say for my answer, if I can piggyback off of Kai, because Kai's actually helped me realize that I do carry a specific privilege. Because beforehand, I'm like, "What are you talking about, Kai? I'm black. I'm this. I'm that." And he's like, "Well, you have to understand how that can be different from other people's perceptions." And I think that, well, like Kai said, I am a cisgender, gay, black man. I am masculine presenting until something I like comes on TV. And then I queen out. And I can Vogue too, so maybe that might not be super duper, but yeah, like I think that being in spaces where you kind of have to understand that there's some overlaps, like being black, being gay, being young. You know what I mean? In the era where HIV is not, I'm not gonna say it's not as scary because it still should be, but in an era where people are like, if I get diagnosed with HIV, I'm just gonna take a magic pill and it's gonna make me okay. I think that all of those things I've been able to acknowledge just based off of conversations with Kai, conversations with Daniel as well. We've gone back and forth about certain things, and then also conversations with Dante, who came up in a different time. So I think that those might be my, what are they called? Intersectionality.
Intersections. Yeah.
Your roads.
Okay.
Right.
right.
Your crossroads, honey.
All right.
You
Go
at
ahead,
the
Daniel.
crossroads. So my very existence is an intersectionality, being someone who is biracial, like Kai. I am black and Mexican. My father is black, my mother is Mexican. However, my mother is a Mexican American. She did not grow necessarily within the traditional Mexican culture. So there's an intersection in regards to being kind of forced growing up and in society to have to choose one over the other. And really not understanding that I am both equally at the same time. So I am black, and I speak on black issues and black things. And I also have lived a very black experience in my life. But at the same time, I'm still also Mexican. And even though I did not live a traditional Mexican life or experience, it is still who I am. It is still a part of who I am. And so that is an intersection that I deal with pretty much daily. And people who follow me on my own social media, they have seen a lot of conversations and a lot of debates surrounding that particular intersectionality. In addition to that, I am also a cisgender gay male who is feminine presenting. How more fucked up can you be? Because there's just not the understanding that, oh, you identify as a male, but you look so feminine. You look like a woman. You should be trans. And there's a lot of explaining and a lot of educating that goes into that realm of things. And obviously just, talking about privilege, acknowledging my male privilege. I have male privilege, I have light skin privilege, I have pretty privilege. There's a lot of privileges.
Yes, pretty privilege.
We all struggle with that. We all
Can I have
know.
that too? Am I able to have that as well?
And
You
I
can have it.
say it sounds like a joke, but really it's a thing.
No, it's real. Yeah,
there are certain things
got fat
when
ass
you
privilege.
are right, like when you are attractive, there are certain things that come with being attractive, and something that you have to navigate. Sometimes you use your attractiveness and your appeal for your gain, and sometimes you have to kind of defend yourself from what other people are trying to get from you because you look the way that you do. So I think the biggest intersection for me that I struggle with though is definitely the intersection of my ethnic makeup, because in a lot of spaces I am not black enough for the black half of me, and I am not Mexican enough for the Mexican half of me, and within that I'm also too feminine. I'm not masculine enough, and I'm also very bold in my personality, which doesn't always. Oh my God, I think I'm getting emotional. It can be a very lonely space to navigate a lot of the time, because people will look at you and say they understand, or they, say, oh, we love you, but really you love the idea of personality. You don't really understand what it is to navigate
Right.
this existence of Daniel J.
That's
Right.
real.
Or like they don't see your full humanity. I've definitely gone through that experience as well. But I think another thing I want to pick up on that everyone mentioned is just like the nuances of all of these. So it's like it's one thing to say I'm Mexican American versus I'm Mexican American, but I'm also light skinned and not indigenous. And I also grew up in a very, homogenous environment where there are a lot of other Mexicans around me. So I didn't feel like I was, weird or stood out or anything. But yeah, I definitely, my intersections, at least, the ones that are most relevant, of course, are like being big, being trans, and being brown. And I think being brown is probably the last one because, like I said, I'm used to being in a lot of spaces where there is a lot of diversity, and I'm not often made to feel like the odd one out or something like that. But in college, that was definitely a huge experience for me because there weren't as many people of color. And so even navigating, queer spaces, there was a lot of upper middle class queer people. And, class is a huge one too. Just like not being able to connect with people who have not been through a lot of my same experiences or who have been exposed to a lot of things that I wasn't exposed to growing up. So I think that is where it became hardest. But yeah, I really think it's important for us to acknowledge, all the nuance there. So, I may be trans, but, there are a lot of advantages that I have that other trans people don't have, whether that's having a stable job, having insurance, being able to be public about it in a lot of different spaces in ways that people aren't. In terms of being, a bigger person, I'm, not, there's a difference between being, 400 pounds and being 250 pounds, there's a different level of acceptability that you are granted in society. So I think I also want to talk about what our experiences have been navigating the LGBT community within these different intersections. Because I think we talked a little bit in our other episodes about, whether navigating, body insecurity in these spaces or whatever the case. But how do you all deal with that, and how do you all find kinship, maybe, or deal with the complicated feelings that may arise because of that?
So I don't. I don't necessarily deal with people who try to put me in a box. I know that like we mentioned earlier with our I'm learning the word intersectionalities. So often people will try to put you in a box so that they can kind of figure out how to approach or handle you. So I've been told several different times, I'm also half black and my dad was Arabic. I've been told several times either your black experience is not the same because I am light skinned, even with the tattoos. That was a joke. That wasn't, that wasn't a valid thing. But even with like, like I like sports and I like talking about sports. I like talking about hip hop culture. And oftentimes people that I would hang out with wouldn't want to talk about that, or it would just be strictly female hip hop. And I listen to guys. Like I know female rappers, but most of my hip hop music is based off of men. So I would often feel like I can't bring it up. I would go out to the club and everybody that I'm with would dance to like, the girl parts of rap music and be rapping it. And I'm like, I don't know that. But then when the guy comes on, I'm doing it and I look like the eyeball out. So even something so minor as that made me realize I'm not the same as everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's okay. Just learning how to navigate and still be me within those circles has been the process. But I've been cool with it. Like I said, this isn't a major thing. It's not like, something super duper that I have to like, be like, oh, this really bothers me. This upsets me. It's just one of those things that I've acknowledged and noticed that like when I'm out, that's what happens. But I'm cool with it. I don't really have to have conversations about, navigating specific spaces. Sometimes I can be a chameleon and kind of go into a specific space and be, yeah, girl, but I don't really deal with it.
No, yeah, but I think that part of what you said is like hinting at something like there's a huge separation, even if you think about like, white gay LA versus, gay LA in its totality, which is not exclusively white, as you guys know.
Yeah.
So Kai, what has been your experience navigating all your intersections in the LGBT community?
Mine has been for me, it's one of those things. I think, as I mentioned, military, I've always jumped around. So I've always had to make myself fit in. It's always been a matter of if I don't kind of adjust, then it doesn't. But as I got older, obviously, it hasn't been something I've been doing, especially in this last year. I've really been addressing not changing who I am to fit in the group that I am in. And so for me, it's always been a culture thing. So kind of how we're saying white gays, even like in being a Black gay or a Latinx gay, like different. So when I hang out with, because at one point in time, a lot of my social group was very Latinx heavy, very, very Latinx heavy. So for me, there was a lot of education there for me, especially when we talk about like immigration, when we talk about the Latinx identity. But it's also been having to, at that point, also work with a lot of the racist idea that is in the white Latinx community. And that was something for me I had never, didn't even cross my mind of thinking.
Right.
So it's going into these spaces where everyone else is Latinx. So even like everyone's speaking Spanish and I'd be the only person in the room. And I'm like, well, I don't know what anyone's saying. So do I learn Spanish now or what do I do here? And so do I pretend like I know what this conversation is or do I not? Or when there'd be a conversation in regards to, Black bodies or Black people in this Latinx group, I recognize the difference instantly. And I think as I've gotten older here in LA, because you tend to see communities kind of stick together. So, a lot of times if this community is where you feel comfortable with, you want that representation because everyone wants to feel represented. Being that one person who isn't in the general representation, you see the difference. And not that it's always bad. Like I said, I've learned a lot being around Latinx community, and I've really, really taken that in stride. I mean, I'm from Tucson, Arizona too, before I moved here. So, obviously the Mexican community was huge there. But here it was more so understanding the different identities that I had. So in getting to the question now, because I'm long-winded, apparently, I don't know when that happened.
It was a good setup though, a great setup.
Right. All good.
For me, it was really trying to, I guess, equate my value in my intersectionalities and really saying like, if this is who I am, like if this is the intersection, how do I show that? Because it's, having privilege is not necessarily a bad thing. Because, a lot of my intersections are coming from places of privilege. And I think oftentimes people hear, oh, you have privilege. And all of a sudden we think, oh no, that's the worst thing. Don't tell me I have privilege. I'm the most oppressed person ever. Like, for me, it was learning that like where my privilege is now is I get to now go into these spaces, hear this, and then open up space for them. So even when I'm in, especially around people who are Black, recognizing that obviously if you see me in a group of Black people, you're going to think, who's that white guy? Like, and that's something that I've had to get comfortable with and not define who I am, I guess, if that makes sense. That was a big round.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I think it's super important for you to keep bringing it back to this issue that we have to acknowledge that privilege is complicated, that intersections are complicated, that you may be privileged in one way, but completely, disadvantaged in another, and those can exist simultaneously, and it's super hard for people to get. Daniel, what are your thoughts on navigating spaces with all your intersections?
Well, being a part of the alphabet mafia, with the elemental penis of it all, I think that there are a lot of things that come into play for me personally. Being an online personality, there is a social side to me navigating my intersections, specifically within LGBTQIA spaces. But then there's also like personal romantic sides of things that I have to navigate. From the social side, it's fine. I'm a big personality. People let me, either you like me or you don't. I know how to party. I've lived a life. I was a party kid when I was younger. Like I would tear up WeHo. Bartenders knew me. Bouncers knew me. I wasn't paying to get into any club because, a bitch was fabulous. So I used, again, a lot of my pretty privilege came into play with that. But what I also have understood is what I understand now, having gotten older and going through certain things, is that there's an intersectionality within the LGBTQIA community that really is heavy on ethnicity and race, where there's a huge difference between white LGBTQIA experiences and then experiences of color, specifically black and brown. Like when you go to WeHo and realize that WeHo is really split up into every ethnicity has their day. For a long time, if you wanted Black, gay LA, you knew Sundays was the day you was going to WeHo. Okay, if you
Mhm.
wanted Latin gay LA,
True.
you knew that it was Saturday that you was going out eating your salsa cha-cha on. I think one of the hardest things for me to navigate in regards to intersectionality is getting people to understand that who I say I am and how I identify is a me thing, and it's not a you thing. You don't get to decide that for me in a lot of aspects. And so, romantically, in my personal life, navigating that LGBTQIA space, it's very hard because my femininity, which is an intersection of who I am, becomes an issue. My ethnicity, what people think I am based on how I look, is an issue. So I have a lot of problems sometimes when I engage into the LGBTQIA community, and so many of the players in it have this very hardcore view on what it means to be a certain thing, and here I am walking in with all of these different nuances, with all of these different mixtures, both ethnically, with my presentation, with my gender identity, like this really messes people up. Like to know that you see this, but then I say I identify as a man, as a cisgender man. Like people don't know how to take that. They don't know what to do with that. And I have found that it is the LGBTQIA community that tends to be the most critical and the most violent and the most harsh as it pertains to that experience. My
Right.
heart literally drops when I think about our trans individuals of color who, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like it or not, trans people are the epitome and the embodiment of intersectionality. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that they have to go through life, even when they transition, whether it be medically or socially, like there is always going to be the intersection of this is who I am and who I identify as, but then this is what everybody else may see, or this is what everybody else may feel. That's an intersection in and of itself that you have to navigate. And you would think that the alphabet mafia would be the group that understands the most. And it's
The
the group that really
alphabet
Exactly.
mafia.
look,
No, I think
but
often
it's the group that is often the most harmful.
I
I'm
think that
saying
that's
that.
super relevant because often when we get into these groups, there tends to be this mentality built where people feel like they have something to protect, and so a lot of these groups that were originally meant to be a safe haven, eventually fall into those same bad habits of creating all these standards for the people who are in there. And I think the biggest part or a big conversation of intersectionality that we have to have is the fact that a lot of people, when you're navigating these spaces, it's hard to feel at home. We're supposed to be queer. And when I first came out, I was like, oh, I'm, going to come out into this amazing community and I'm going to be embraced and we're all going to love each other. But it's like, once you do that, you find out, well, in this space, I'm not going to be liked for being brown. In this one, they don't like big
You get picked
growth.
apart. You
Right,
literally get picked
exactly.
apart.
In trans spaces, they may not look at me as valid if I'm not, since I'm not, since I'm non-binary and since I'm not, as far along in my transition as other people. So there's all these intersections that we all have to navigate. And, it's kind of just the task of us as people who have to live with multiple identities to kind of find our tribe and find the people and spaces that make us feel the safest and most at home in a community that, is supposed to be built on that.
And
So
I
I
think
think
one
with
of the
that,
harsher things is understanding that it's almost like we live in a society where you have to be one thing. You have to be this one solitary thing. And people want you to choose. You know what I'm saying? Like Kai and myself, and I would also say Ty, because Arabic, that you meant bruh.
They consider it all the same, so it's okay.
But to find out that we are biracial, people want you to choose one.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure, like with you being a non-binary trans individual, there are probably people who want you to choose a particular representation or presentation. And it's like, well, one day I might want to look a little bit more masculine. One day I might want to look a little bit more. Why do I have to choose this one thing to make you comfortable?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like
I
we
mean,
have to
our
get to a
community is
space
supposed to
where I
be
can be all of that at the same time.
right. Our community is supposed to be represented by rainbow. Like we're supposed to be a spectrum and a diverse group of people. But I think with that good sentiment, we should close it off and open up our next section, which is going to be our real and raw segment. So we're going to talk a little bit about our experiences working in the HIV or, STI sexual health field. So stay tuned for that after this commercial break.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a him. And you'll probably click this video because you're wondering about the U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. These two letters have changed the game for people living with HIV. Oftentimes, people have been afraid of disclosing their status, being intimate, or having been stigmatized for being positive. It's unfair. No one should feel uncomfortable about these things. That's where U equals U comes into play. If you are positive, have been virally suppressed for at least 6 months, and taking your medication, then guess what? The transmission is impossible. Yes, impossible. And if you don't believe me, you can ask the Center for Disease Control. They will back this up and have been since 2017 with hundreds of experts and organizations. Now, what does that mean to be virally suppressed? It means that you have 50 or less copies of the HIV virus per milliliter of blood. Now, I know it's hard to imagine, but that's a tiny amount. Taking your HIV medication daily, without fail, most people are able to become undetectable within 1 to 6 months. Now, we wish we could say everyone is able to reach U equals U status, but we know that sometimes it is harder for other people for different reasons. However, for the majority that do reach undetectable and continue to take their medication daily, there are no risks for transmission. Of course, we encourage safe sex practices because there are other STIs that can be transmitted, but HIV won't be one of them. If you have any other questions or concerns, you can contact us here. Thank you guys for watching.
And we are back. We don't have much time, everybody, so we are going to do this really, really quickly here for the real and raw section. As Rogelio said before the break, this is kind of our own experiences in the HIV field. What have we learned? What have we experienced? So who would like to go first for this real and raw section?
Okay, so we're being... Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Right, we volunteer you.
Okay, perfect. So something that I found really hard navigating this field is the fact that, as somebody who is a part of our target, demographic, it can be really hard to feel like you're pulled between, this is my professional life, but this is also my personal life. We have to bring a lot of our personal lives to our jobs. And it can just be, kind of sad when sometimes you're trying to just genuinely connect with a trans person or a queer person. And just because they see you as this authority figure that works with APLA, they think that you somehow think you're better than them, or that, there just becomes a disconnect there where it's like, I wish I could just meet everybody as myself, as who I am, without having this pressure of the fact that, this is my 9 to 5 at the end of the day and I want to clock out. But I think there's another side to it too, which is the fact that, I do want to clock out. I do want to have a separation. And sometimes, if you have clients or people who you've gotten to know through the organization that you've gotten close to, you can feel that pressure to kind of keep on that professional hat even after hours. And it's hard for you to kind of maintain those boundaries. So that's the main thing I found difficult for me, has definitely been just like, as somebody who moved back here, wanted to reconnect with the community, feeling like, well, now I'm like, off to the side and like the professionals. So it's hard for me to feel like, part of the community.
Come on, boundaries, we love them. For me, my real and raw is, I wish that people didn't need an incentive to get tested. And for me, that has been the hardest thing, is when they're like, so what can we do to bring people in? It hurts me a lot of times to be like, the surefire way to make sure that people come in is, to pay them. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. Like, obviously, like, if we're taking some of your time is money, I have no problem compensating. But I wish people would be just as excited to get an HIV test, whether they were getting a gift card to Target or not. So for me,
Yeah.
that has been, sometimes I find myself really like when I'm like having this really great interaction with somebody testing or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I'm really excited. Do we get paid? And then I'm just like, and then like I try not to make it about me and like understanding that, you know, everyone's got to live. This is something that, you know, they might really need. But, you know, sometimes I just wish that people would be taking sexual health seriously because their health is enough. So for me, that's been the biggest kind of real and raw moment, is recognizing that.
I agree with you. I'll say for me, very, very briefly, what we do is very hard. I know a lot of people will look at us and be like, well, what you do is you just get people and you talk to them about sex. It's more than that. It's emotionally tolling as well. Just like Kai and Rogelio both mentioned. So I don't want to sound harsh saying it, but we kind of do a very thankless work. Like our work is important. We leave gratified from helping people, but we don't get a lot of the community that'll sit there and be like, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for going into this barbershop and putting those condoms there. Thank you for having this conversation with my son. We don't get that. And then so often we're so wrapped up in the idea that, you know, we need to save the entire world that we forget to thank our peers and to thank our the people that work with us and around us. And it can get a little annoying at times, especially when, you know, like I don't think that any of us do any of this to be recognized, but a thank you goes a very long way when we're busting our ass to make sure that we are looking at people as more than a number, having an emotional connection with them, so that people who want us to do it don't have to do it. And it's like, you know, that's very important sometimes, you know. Oftentimes we hear you should just do the work because, you know, you're passionate about it. Passion dies off. Passion definitely dies off. People get burnt out. And if you're not saying thank you to the people that are on the frontline staff, us at APLA Health, you're not saying thank you to the people that are in your community that are pushing for your health to be priority, then why do it? So that's real and raw. Y'all said real and raw. A lot of times I will go home and disconnect from work because you can't have my entire day, because I'm using the rest of that time to thank myself for the shit that I've done. So I'll leave that there.
Yes.
My real is that I love what I do. Even though I know that my future career path is not necessarily solidified in public health. I don't make any qualms about it. That my career choice is entertainment and being a personality and a commentator and being able to affect several different platforms upon, you know, with that. So that's the real. I really do love what I do. The raw part is it's hard when you are constantly confronted with people who look at clients and employees as a number and machine. I don't like looking, I never want to get to a space where I'm looking at clients as just a number, because these are human beings, these are lives that we're touching, whether because they're testing with us, because they're linking into care, whatever the case may be, we are sort of individuals that can create a lifelong experience and or memory for a lot of individuals, you know. And there's a lot of people in this work and in this field where it's just about the numbers. They forget that these numbers have faces and names. They forget that these numbers have families and traumas and obstacles to face. And on the flip side of that, for those of us working in this field, doing the work, it's hard to feel like the only thing people want for you is produce, 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 produce. Like, we're not human. Like, we don't have lives. Like, we don't have ups and downs. Like, we don't have traumas. And I get, at the end of the day, you're getting paid to do a job and the work needs to be done. But we all need to understand that this is a human work and you're dealing with human beings and we're not machines at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. It's valid. And it's not us calling out any specific organizations. This is just something that we've noticed in the field, just in general.
It's just part of
like
the
we
field.
go,
it's the work.
Yeah, we go to
It's
several
part of the
different
job.
organizations, at least post or pre-COVID. We would go to several different organizations and have these same conversations with people. So this is not us saying, oh, we're not appreciated. We're not this, we're not that. But there is a reason why. I guess the first time that I get recognized for something, I'm not thanking anybody. I'm going to say it's about time. There's a reason why for all of that. You know what I mean? And we're being real and raw. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like when Issa Rae did her acceptance speech, I'm not opening the doors for nobody. Like, this is what I did. I thank myself. Thank you. It's about time, Ty. You're welcome. But like, we know that there are a lot of these obstacles and these same policies or these same ways in other people's jobs. Like, no matter what you do, sometimes you're busting your behind for a main common goal. I guess at the end of all of this, the takeaway is you need to prioritize self-care for yourself in order to do said job. Do not let a job kill you, because they will replace you. Absolutely.
In a corporate setting, they congratulate you for the gain that you get. And they will give you a promotion, they will give you more money, they will give you awards and accolades for the job that you do. It's only in nonprofit type situations where people assume that the only reward that we should get is that good, warm, and fuzzy feeling of helping people. That's cute, but the warm and fuzzies don't pay my rent. As much as I love what I do with the people that I do it for and with, the warm and fuzzies does not pay the light bill.
It does not. It actually keeps me very cold. But it also, can we put that towards the community that we serve as well? I appreciate the thank yous for linking your cousin, brother, uncle, or whatever into care and making sure that person's undetectable. Stop saying bad things about the community. Stop looking at gay people and talking hellish shit about them. A gay person saved your family member's life. Stop doing that. A trans person took the time out of their life to make sure that your person had the medication that they needed. Stop talking shit about them. Stop saying, I don't need to say anything about the trans community and all the stuff that's going on with the trans community because I don't agree with it. But you was okay when that trans person assisted your cousin, uncle, brother, or whoever into linking into care. Let's stop being dumb about that. We can't continue to do that. If someone links you into care or someone helps something or gives you a favor, honor that person and where they come from. And then also take a good look at yourself and think how you can be an ally to return the favor to that person. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
Type feels it. So with that, we're going to leave it at there. So this has been another episode of The Link. Thank you so much, everyone, for being real and raw. I am like, woohoo, I love it. So this is the best way to end out the year, I think, is showing us, everyone, that we love our job. As I said, we all love what we do. But hey, we're people and we go through shit and we do all of this. And sometimes we don't get thanked enough. But I want to say to my wonderful team, I can never say it enough. I am so thankful for you. I could not do what I do without
you, Ty.
These three faces are help me every single day, and I couldn't do what I do without them. So with that, we are going to say goodbye. Be safe this New Year's, and we will see you come.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We'll see you 2021, honey. Yeah.
Yes.